Let's talk training. Now, the reason we even train in the first place is because we either want to feel better, look better, or perform better, right? And you probably already know by now that there's a 3-day program ready to roll when you are after you watched all these resources. May have even started already, who knows? Before you do that though, I'd love to first take you through how I build my training programs, why they work, and how they work, so that after the next 2 weeks with me is finished, you'll then be able to go and continue by yourself with building your very own training programs moving forward. I'll first start by explaining the main things I consider when building a training program, and then I'll explain the main 4 components of a successful training program so that you can go continue by yourself over the next 2 weeks and beyond while focusing your efforts in the right areas. Here we go. Here are the 3 main things I consider before building a training program. One is obviously going to be our goals, right? When building a program for a client, their goals will influence what type of training program is needed in the first place. If they want to build or maintain muscle mass, it will likely be a resistance program focusing on overall volume, otherwise known as hypertrophy training. If they want to build strength, it will then be a strength program with powerlifting exercises like a deadlift. And if they want to build their aerobic fitness, there will likely be a lot of cardio and so on. Simply put, we really just need to sit down and ask ourselves when starting out, what is it I actually want to improve in the near future or be doing with my body in the near future? Will give us the direction we need to then kind of dictate how our program will look. This applies even if your current goal is just to lose weight. Remember that all types of training burn energy and they are all effective when it comes to fat loss. So pick a training plan in line with what attributes you'd like to improve, and that will give you a better understanding of what exercises you should then be putting into your future plans. Second thing is our limitations, and buckle up because this is a big one. After we uncover a client's goals and desired outcomes, I will then look into any limitations that need to be considered physiologically, environmentally, and even psychologically. Tongue twister. For example, if I have an online client new to the gym and not yet comfortable with training in the free weight area with a bunch of big ass, hairy, smelly blokes, I'll often need to work around that until they are. Another example is someone with a disability or long-term injury. Another example is also that ability, and I see this one heaps where people want to follow in their favorite bodybuilder's footsteps by downloading a program full of exercises that are way out of their ability, then they wonder why they fail or get injured. And the last example is that I also need to take into account a client's availability, as they will often have full-time jobs and a family that requires a lot of their time. Of course, I could scoff at most of these factors. Believe it or not, there are a lot of trainers out there that do, and say something along the lines of, if you want it enough, you'll make it work. But the reality is, in my experience, not taking into account these factors I just mentioned will often result in a client failing miserably after 2 weeks and feeling like it's their fault, when in reality, it was the shitty training program not working around who they are as individuals. Right, so once I've considered all those factors, the last thing to consider is, of course, preference. And that's because the program someone enjoys will often be the program they will then follow. Remember, we're not robots throughout this process, folks. What you're trying to achieve is not about the destination. It's about learning to love the journey. Build a program with shit you enjoy, listen to yourself, and you'll finally find yourself looking forward to training for a change, which is what we want at the end of the day. Now that you know what considerations there are when building a program, let's chat about the 4 main things that dictate whether a program is effective or not. First of those things being structural balance, which is a fancy word for having a well-rounded program. The idea here is that we should have a program that trains our back muscles, but also our chest. It trains our quads, but also our hamstrings, our biceps, but also our triceps, which may seem like a really simple concept, because it is. The consequence of not getting this right, however, can lead to you losing muscles in the area you've missed out when losing weight, to training plateaus, to even getting injured because of muscle imbalances. This is why I always write a program out and take into account which specific muscles are being trained and how much when building a program for a client. The second area of focus when optimizing a training program is technique. Once they've been given a program, I make sure they know how to perform each and every exercise in the best way possible to ensure they're getting the absolute most out of every rep while the weight is still fairly light. By doing this, my clients are able to get far more benefit than most people without the added need to stack as much weight on, especially in the beginning. Which is handy because they're getting just as much gains, but without the added unnecessary risk of injury or looking like a goose swinging weight all over the fucking place. 3, so you've sorted your program and your technique is looking good. The next thing to now master is progressive overload. Progressive overload is how we are able to make ourselves fitter, faster, bigger, and stronger. When we train, we stress the muscles out and adaptation takes place, which means we then recover to a point that is better than where we began. This is why progressive overload is so important, because if you come in every single week and do the exact same shit, your body is constantly adapting to it, which means unless you're increasing the difficulty, you'll essentially be getting less and less benefit from your training, which means no results for you. Easiest way to ensure you're progressively overloading when you're training is to firstly keep tabs on the weights and reps you're doing when training. Week by week, slowly increase the difficulty by adding either more resistance, more volume, more time under tension, or even less rest in between sets. Really depends on your goals again, but you're in luck because the program attached in this resource makes it easy to do everything I just mentioned. Last thing that is absolutely crucial to getting results with your training programming is, drumroll, consistency. Yeah, I know, shit one to finish with, but the reality is this race is a marathon, not a sprint, and the consistent bloke will always get better results than the patchy fuckers who drop off every month when things get tough. So to recap, you now know what to consider before building your very own training program, and you also know the fundamentals to how to get results when you're training. What I'd like you to now do is head on over to the training tab in your app and take a look at the sessions you've been prescribed and either click start now to do one of them right now. Alternatively, you can schedule a session by heading over to your calendar and clicking the day you'd like to add a session into. Either works. The sessions have everything you'll need to get going. I've included a rep range you can stick to, the amount of sets to do per exercise, and even given you a video of each exercise that you can take a look at before trying them yourself. Feel free to video yourself doing them if you're unsure, then flick me a video through the app if you'd like some feedback. Remember everything I've just spoken about when doing these sessions. The well-rounded program part has been done for you, but it's going to be up to you to either ensure your technique is good and that you also progress with each session while also staying consistent. So kick some ass, take some names, and let me know if you have any questions. Good luck.